Hi, meet Natalie. Natalie is a 6-year-old girl who grew up in the parish of Westmoreland, Jamaica. Ever since her father died from an incurable disease, her biggest goal was to become one of the greatest doctors that Jamaica has ever known. This was a promise she made to her father before he took his last breath. Everything was going according to plan, but there was one problem. Natalie's biggest enemy was her mother, who wanted her dead. It all started when Natalie's mother found a new boyfriend. Meet Andrew. Andrew is a man with a troubling history and dark intentions, but is an expert at disguising it with a huge smile. A smile that can make any woman's heart melt. Natalie's mother was obsessed and infatuated with Andrew, who had her controlled like a puppet on a string. He enjoyed every bit of power he had over her. Andrew, however, took a special interest in Natalie. Natalie disliked Andrew. His piercing stares made her uncomfortable. Natalie tried her best to avoid being in the same room as Andrew, and would tell her mother about the way Andrew was looking at her, instead of listening and investigating the matter. Her mother got angry at her and told her that she was a big liar. She felt as if Natalie was still struggling to get over the death of her father and just didn't want to see her happy with anyone else. She warned Natalie, if she ever dares to say anything bad about Andrew that would anger him and cause him to leave her, she would put her out of the house on the streets to die. This scared Natalie. Imagine a 6-year-old all alone on the street. She didn't want to die. Natalie felt hopeless and decided to never say anything bad about Andrew again. As the years went by, Natalie's situation got worse. One night as Natalie slept, Andrew snuck into her room. "Shut up! Tell anyone and I will kill you," Andrew warned. "Take off your clothes now." As this routine continued for a couple of years, Andrew and Natalie grew very close. Natalie's mother saw how much attention Andrew was giving to Natalie instead of her, and grew to secretly despise her. On Natalie's 13th birthday, Andrew decided to go shopping for a gift. On his way back, he met into a horrific accident and died. Natalie fell into a deep state of depression and felt suicidal. Andrew was her identity. Andrew was the only person she felt as if she could trust. Now that he's gone, she felt empty. Natalie's mother didn't make it any easier on her. She blamed her for Andrew's death. If she didn't try to steal Andrew away from her, he would be alive. Because Andrew was the financial provider in the family, she didn't want to lose him. Natalie's mom knew but allowed Andrew to molest Natalie for years. But she never expected them to become so close. That wasn't in the agreement. She hated Natalie with a great passion and decided to throw Natalie out of the house to survive on the dangerous streets on her own. Natalie's mother shouted, "You are no longer welcomed here. Leave my house. I hope you die out there." Natalie couldn't believe that her own mom would do this to her. She was just 13. How will she survive on the street? What will she do? How will she get food? "I don't want to die," Natalie cried. A couple years went by and Natalie has now found her new identity with her new friends, who saw potential in her and taught her how to make money on the street. "Natalie, your client is coming." Natalie went into the car. "Hey John, how are you?" "Natalie, I'm well enough. Just let me have the usual. You know how I like it." Natalie responded, "As long as you have my money." You know my rate. Drive around the dark corner down the road and let's do it. One day, one of Natalie's best friends, Sasha, started to despise her. She started to realize that she was losing most of her major clients to Natalie. Men were more drawn towards Natalie because of her enchanting and irresistible beauty, complemented with her warm personality. How could this happen? Sasha wondered. She was the one who taught Natalie how to play the game of the street. But now she is being betrayed. Natalie still remembered the promise she made to her father to become a doctor. She knew that if it were to ever happen, she would need to attend school. With all the money she has now saved, she felt as if it was time to embark on that journey. Over time, Natalie made several applications for school and asked Sasha to deliver them because she was more familiar with the locations. Instead of delivering these applications, Sasha would throw each application in the trash can. It was her revenge. It was her way of getting back at Natalie for taking away her clients. Months passed and Natalie felt hopeless as she had not received any word from these institutions. Natalie decided to call each institution to get an update on her applications. To her surprise, nobody knew who she was nor received any application from her. Natalie confronted Sasha and asked her about it. Sasha admitted that she had never delivered any of the applications, but instead threw them in the trash. Natalie was shocked and wondered how one person could be so evil. "You're supposed to be my best friend," Natalie shouted. "Out here there is no such thing as friends," Sasha responded. "As a matter of fact, we all have decided that you are no longer welcomed here. Find somewhere else to go. We all hope you die." Natalie was broken. She couldn't believe what was happening to her again. Being betrayed and rejected by the people who she built her sense of identity around. Sasha then made a spooky call that nobody had expected. Everyone was shocked after they overheard what she was saying on the phone. They all felt that she was taking it a bit too far. But out of fear, no one dared to challenge Sasha. Sasha will always get whatever she wants. As Natalie was on her way, she was attacked by 5 men who took turns abusing and molesting her and then left her for dead. Fortunately, Natalie survived the gruesome attack and recovered in the hospital. However, the beatings were so severe that she ended up losing her sight. Natalie was blind for life. Natalie wondered why her life had to be this way. What could have she done to be born to a life like this? Why is it that people with the kindest heart have to endure such great pain, heartbreak, and hardship? She felt like ending her life, but then remembered that both her evil mother and best friend would have won if she did. They both wanted her to die. She also kept remembering the promise she made to her father. He would be so disappointed to know that she had given up and taken her own life. Natalie made the decision right then and there. She refused to die, at least not right now. She will become a doctor and nothing will stop her. She had to learn how to carry out basic functions such as cooking, using the computer, reading documents, and traveling all about on her own. A couple of years went by and Natalie miraculously made it into medical school. She asked a cousin of hers to withdraw the money from her bank account to pay the remaining portion of her school tuition. Because Natalie trusted her so much, she gave her cousin her debit card and PIN number. Poor Natalie. Over a couple of days, instead of paying the school tuition as instructed, the cousin withdrew all of the money from Natalie's account and disappeared. Natalie was eventually kicked out of the medical program because of her inability to pay the tuition. To make matters worse, Natalie had no money left to survive. The landlord gave her 1 week to pay the rent or she will be kicked out on the street. This completely broke Natalie's spirit and dreams. She has finally hit her breaking point. This life is too much for one person. Dad, I can't do this anymore. I have tried my best. Please forgive me, Natalie cried. Natalie took up a bottle filled with a toxic substance. As she was about to end her life, the phone rang. She answered. A banker from the local commercial bank, LCB, gave Natalie a shock of her life. Apparently, Natalie's father, before he died, had shares in a small business that grew into a mega success many years later. The company has now decided to liquidate its assets to pay its shareholders. The bank called Natalie because her father listed her as the beneficiary in the event of his death. Her father's shares were now worth 500 million Jamaican dollars, all of which is now available to Natalie. Natalie was so shocked that she started to cry, tears of joy. She couldn't believe what had just happened. Natalie eventually completed medical school and graduated as the top student. Everyone was in awe. How can a blind girl leave medical school as the top student? News about Natalie spread and created an atmosphere of inspiration and hope across the country. She became a role model for many students, especially those with physical disabilities. Natalie then went on to start her own medical center and became one of the most sought after doctors in the Caribbean. It doesn't matter what you have been through in life, the pain, the suffering, the heartbreaks, the rejections, the abuse. You don't have to allow it to define you. You have the power within you to break free from the shackles of feeling inadequate and make manifest your purpose and create the life that you desire.